following podcast is recorded and produced by Emerge, a media creators co-op, in affiliation with the network at bicbp-radio.com.
Hello and welcome to episode 65 of the Big Yak Podcast. It is I, Mike Pareto, alongside me as always, Nico Benny, and we have special guest Terrell Ford back in the studio today. How are you, Terrell?
Good, how you doing?
I'm all right.
65 already?
65.
I just want to say, dang.
65.
Hey, I feel like we're skipping by twos at this point.
Yeah, I mean, time's flying. We're all having a good time. Yeah, 65. It's crazy. I remember when we were on episode when was Terrell on? I think he was 30. I want to say. It might have been even earlier.
It might have been. It's in the 30s, right? It was a while back in February. Yeah.
That was the first time, and the second time was July.
Yep. Yeah, you weren't here for that episode.
That was when I was on my Post Malone little
Adventure. Yeah.
But how you been, Terrell? Give us a little bit of an update on your life. The journey, NFL journey, all that stuff.
It's been good, man. Honestly, right now, just grinding, taking each day at a time. Constantly working out, lifting and running routes twice a day. I'm still finishing up grad school, so I'm almost done with my master's. So
okay, good for you.
Classes, so keeping myself occupied while steady trying to chase the dream. Just getting prepared. It's not if it's going to happen, but when. So just making sure I'm prepared whenever that time comes.
Yeah. Well, we're pulling for you, man.
Most definitely.
Yeah. Anybody who's out there watching this, shout my man out. Let's get this.
Yeah. What's the next important date for you?
Right now, I don't have any set dates and stuff.
Great.
But whatever. Once the CFL is done, try to do some of those workouts. Arena leagues, XFL. The XFL USFL thing is kind of tricky right now.
I saw that they merged. Yep.
Whatever. So I guess once the CFL and stuff is done this spring.
Gotcha.
A lot was gonna happen.
Good.
Yeah. Well, yeah. As I said, we're pulling for you for sure.
Most definitely, I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. So glad to have Terrell back on in the studio. Want to cover some NFL headlines and current events, starting off with all the injuries that happened.
I feel like it was hour after hour after hour. There was another person that went on IR.
Yeah, and it literally happened in the span of events since Sunday and Monday games have concluded. A couple names to throw out there: Justin Jefferson, James Conner, Devin Achane, Anthony Richardson, Matt Milano, all potentially gone for the next 4 games. Matt Milano might even miss the whole year. So, yeah, just a little bit of little concern in the NFL world, especially in the fantasy football spectrum, because those are Justin Jefferson was the number 1 overall pick in most fantasy leagues. So, yeah, that's a big blow. Devin Achane came onto the scene as one of the more prominent NFL players and rookie running back season conversation, if not first place for Offensive Rookie of the Year. So, yeah, Anthony Richardson, one of the bright quarterbacks out of the class as well. But yeah, how do you guys feel about that? I mean, it's just a couple injuries that are just very gut-wrenching to see.
Yeah, these are tough. There are so many. I just feel like I said, hour after hour, it was a new guy on IR. And for some of these rookies, it's hard because this year is so valuable for them just to get that playing time. It also could be a good thing for a guy like Anthony Richardson. I know eventually, the original game plan was to not trot him out there week 1, get some times to learn the playbook, learn the game script, just learn how Gardner Minshew, a veteran at this point, kind of operates. I think that this will be a great learning experience for him. I know when Josh Allen went out for injury back in his rookie year, he learned a lot just from sitting for a bit, and then. Even just for some of these younger guys like Devon Achane, I mean, he's in a veteran veteran running back room, learning just so much from them and how they handle injuries. And those are guys that are riddled with injuries throughout their careers. So just learning how they bounce back from that's going to be huge. And then, we could talk about Matt Milano and Daquan Jones as well. I mean, those are brutal. As of right now, Sean McDermott isn't saying if it's season ending or not. But it's looking like it'll be at least the playoffs at least. So it's tough. It's tough for a Bills fan and tough as a fan of the NFL. One of the league's best defenses losing 3 of their starters and 3 of their starters that are playing at a high level across 2 weeks, where it's like, you don't see that as often. And can we say it's the turf? Yes. Can we say it's one thing or not? We don't really know. A lot of these things are just such freak accidents that it's just difficult to watch. But yeah, I don't know if you want to add to that, Terrell.
Playing football, it's like it's inevitable. Like you always hear the next man up mentality. Like you always got to be prepared, and that's where you hear some of the success stories with some guys. Like they finally get opportunity, and then you take advantage of opportunity, and it's like you see what that guy can do. So some of these situations open up a lot of opportunities for other guys. It sucks as part of the business, but gotta be ready.
Yeah, it's football, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and a lot of speculation with, we're going to talk about it in a little bit, but like, the grass field versus the turf, comparisons. I mean, you've played football as like at each level.
Yeah.
What do you prefer?
I prefer good grass. I mean, I feel like everybody prefers good grass. I mean, especially in the NFL, they know they can all afford it. Like,
right.
I mean, it's not like that's the crazy part about it. Is like, why doesn't everybody have grass? Like at this point, So, yeah, I'm pretty sure every football player is like, you prefer grass because the turf is kind of funky, But
right, and for me, playing up until like my senior year, junior year, we finally got those the renovated fields at Niagara Falls. And so we went from playing on grass to playing on turf. And at first I was like, the turf it's cool. Like, it's probably more convenient. But then I came to realize, like, damn, there's more injuries happening on the turf.
A lot more injuries, yep.
Yeah, and especially depending on, like, the weather as well. Like, if you're playing on say there's like freezing rain, sometimes when you fall to the ground, you take some of those hits. When you fall on that turf, it feels like you're falling on cement.
Yeah.
So it's and with London, a lot of the Bills players came out and said it felt like they were playing on cement.
Man, they rode it over the cement. But they're crazy because the soccer team plays there and they have grass.
Right,
So
like
why can't they use?
Why didn't they just roll out, or why don't they just use grass on their?
The Bills lost. The Bills lost regardless, so it's no excuse because the Jaguars had to play too. But it sucks when you see guys, especially from the standpoint like you put so much work in the off season, and like you only get 17 games promised to show that, and when these guys get hurt, and that's a whole year. The NFL, it doesn't last long, so it really does suck to see a lot of these, especially the elite guys, get hurt like that.
Yeah. I never asked you about this. I don't think we ever asked you in these prior things, and only answer what you can. But have you had to go through anything like an injury that would put you out for multiple weeks at a time?
No, knock on wood. I mean, I've dealt with some things like during the season. Like turf toe was probably the worst one, and I didn't know how bad turf toe can be. I had to take like some
people always
shots.
talk about it as
like
I would a phantom injury. And you don't really realize.
Mine wasn't too severe, but it was really bad. Like I was walking around with a boot like all week to try to play. They give me a shot at halftime just to make it through, but it was really bad. That was the worst I've had. But so knock on wood, I haven't had too many injuries.
What was that mentality like coming back from injury?
Coming back from injury, I also sprained my AC joint. That was I thought I broke my collarbone. So I can only imagine how Anthony Richardson felt. Like he might have to have surgery. Mm-hmm. And, the mentality coming back from that is most of mine happened towards the end of the season. So, but coming back from that is basically just want to make sure you're as healthy as possible. I haven't dealt with it mid-season to the point where it's like I come back and you're in the end stretch and, you want to be ready for the playoffs or whatever. So I don't know about that standpoint. I only attacked it coming away from going into the off season, making sure I'm ready for spring ball and stuff like that. So
yeah, and looking at a guy like Tre'Davious White, I mean, you saw 2 weeks ago when that injury happened, the
emotion,
frustration, slamming his helmet, like he was just so distraught. And then it was like that when he tore his ACL too. Yeah. There's a lot of speculation that it took a toll on his mental. Because, you have that fear that, like, oh, what if I go back out here and I re-tear that injury? Yep. I don't want to go through all this again. And so, fortunately but unfortunately, I mean, he didn't re-tear the knee, but he did tear Achilles, and that's another really bad injury.
And, like, now the Achilles is worse than the ACL.
Yeah.
I think the worst one I seen was Emmanuel Mosley for the Lions. Tore his ACL last season. First game back, tears the other one.
In week 5, too, of each season.
It's like, man,
like that's just so, unfortunate. Such.
So, yeah.
I hate to see that stuff.
Right.
Going back to the Bills. So they lost in London. What is our initial thoughts? I mean, Terrell said it, perfectly fine. Like, you can't blame the turf, anything like that. We can't have that excuse. Because frankly, for me, the main reason why I think we lost was because the first half they just looked flat. I mean, they didn't establish a run game, fast enough. They only had 14 carries for 23 yards as a team.
Here's my thing. I mean, you can talk about how the Jaguars were well rested. They spent time in London already, and even Travis Etienne had alluded to that as well. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're jet lagged for a game plan. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this comes down to me. It comes down to coaching and execution. Ken Dorsey, I just think, called a flat out bad game. I don't think there's much really other way to put it other than it was just a really poor game. I feel like the Bills' curse is a draw play on 2nd and 10. Like, I don't know. To me, we've seen it not work so many times where it's like, why do we keep trying this and expecting different results? Especially when it looks like the team knows it's coming too. So I just feel like that there could have been more from a game plan perspective. I think it's less to do about the rest. I mean, Josh Allen had a good game himself and what he was asked to do. I mean, he had over a 100 passer rating. He threw for 350 yards. I mean, yeah, he threw that one arm punt, but at the end of the day, that didn't really hurt them as much because it pins the Jaguars in their own 10. So, yeah, like I said, I think it just comes down to game plan and execution. It just didn't – like you said, it looked flat. I didn't see any spark in the offense.
Yeah, no, and then you see at the end of the game where Josh, comes back, has that amazing drive, and it's like, where was this fire? Maybe they were, as a team, they're a little down in the dumps with what happened with Matt Milano, Daquan Jones, some of those injuries. Maybe they lost that spark, but I think, you touched on it perfectly. I think Ken Dorsey did not call that good of a game. I thought up to this season, he's called a great set of games.
And that's the thing.
Yeah.
People after this game are going to call for his head. Right. I think that's a little bit too overreactionary. He has had a fantastic first 4 weeks. This 5th game was bad. Sure, you can, like I said, you can blame it on anything. You can blame it on the rest. You can blame it on this and on that. At the end of the day, he had a bad game, and every single coordinator, every coach, every player, everyone's going to have bad games at some point in time. So I think you kind of just chalk it up. I mean, hey, the Jaguars are a great team too. Let's give some credit to them. It's just as much about the Jaguars being good as it is the Bills didn't have their best game. The Jaguars going into this, I mean, they were like, people were known. They thought they were a playoff team. I think a lot of projections had them around that 10-7 and 11-6 range, winning the AFC South. So let's not forget about how well Jacksonville played. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, I think, is still a top 10 quarterback, despite wherever we rank them on our tier lists. He's still playing at a very high level, and that offense is really good, and that defense is finding its groove. So I think as a Bills fan, I'm not worried about this loss. I think there's a lot of time to bounce back. It does suck being a half game back from Miami for the lead, but it's really going to be a 2-horse race between Buffalo and Miami again. So, yeah, I don't think it's going to be too much in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. What about you, Terrell? How do you feel?
It's like I always like to looking at football. It's like I think Josh Allen always says it's like when you watch the film, it's not always as good as you think it is, and it's always not as bad as you think it is. So I like to watch the film because you never know. Dorsey may have seen something. Josh may have missed some reads. Things like that. Mm-hmm. It always you see like, oh, he probably should have did this, but you watch the film, it wasn't there. So it's like it's tough, and it just I think they came alive a little too late. Like, because the defense, with all the key starters that came out, they held it down. Mm-hmm. And they gave them a chance to win. You see, like, the 2 strip sacks that Epinesa had. Mm-hmm. They were very timely.
Epinesa had a
right before
huge
halftime. I think another one was, like, the 3rd. And they were all timely, and Buffalo didn't really take advantage of that. Mm-hmm. And like you said, Josh had that in the 4th quarter. Like you said, where was that all game? Yeah. So it's like, I think it was one of those games where it was just – and typically, if you look in the past – the Bills haven't played the Jaguars good at all.
No. Jags have the Bills.
Yeah, ever since it's always like some guys like for some reason Josh always plays good against the Dolphins. And I feel like most football players can attest to this. Like you always had those games against certain teams where you always play good. Mm-hmm. And I feel like his is the Dolphins. And for some reason, whenever the Bills play, since McDermott's been here, whenever they play the Jags, they typically don't play that good. Like
I think back to that 6-9 loss their last year.
It's like before. Where was that? It's like, and sometimes you have those games. It's like the Jaguars aren't bad. they're a really good team. They have a chance to win it all too. So I think it's just one of those games. I think the Bills will be fine. Some people are, I feel, overreacting a little bit to the injuries. You still have Von Miller. You have 3 All-Pros still on your defense.
That's true.
Not too many teams could say that, And then you have Rousseau coming back, Shaq Lawson. You still got Jordan Phillips, Poona Ford there.
Poona Ford is another name. Yeah.
See what you got with Dorian, the rookie at middle.
Dorian Williams. He I thought played pretty well, just hopping in. Like I said, coming overseas and then being thrusted into the game plan with Matt Milano. I mean, having to replace that kind of production. Yeah. I think he had a great game.
Yeah, he did. He didn't play bad.
Yeah, he had. I'll have to look back at the film and see what exactly I really liked and what he probably wants back, but. I thought he had a fantastic game to fill in for him.
You lose those starters on defense, but your offense is 100% healthy. So,
right. Yeah, we'll see how they bounce back for sure. Next, we're gonna talk about the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys. Here's the thing. Did a little bit of reaction to the Week 5 games on Sunday, and what I said about Dallas was that they had such high expectations coming into the season, potentially to dethrone Philadelphia for that division lead. And I get they're playing the San Francisco 49ers, the best team in the NFL right now, but to lose like how they did was just so.
It's always we talk about with the Bills and the Jags. It's always for the Cowboys. It's the 49ers. This has been a rivalry, and it used to be a rivalry like much bigger, years back, but. Now it's just a one-sided beatdown. Like every year, it seems like Dallas trots into and faces for the San Francisco, and it's always not good. I mean, we had Zeke Elliott playing center last year. I mean, that's let's not forget about that. So, like I said, there's teams that have other teams' numbers, and the 49ers right now just have the Cowboys' numbers. I mean, again, it's still embarrassing that you lost 4 scores to to any team in the league, especially when you were Super Bowl favorites 2 weeks ago.
Right.
But I don't know. It just seems to be the same script for Dallas every year.
Yeah, and it's Jerry Jones went into the press and they asked him about CeeDee Lamb, why hasn't CeeDee Lamb gotten as much targets as he has? Like, is he going to be getting more forward? And he was like, I don't know about that. Why?
Not doing himself any favors.
You're not. It's just and that's the thing. It's especially with the Panthers too was another situation where we saw this week, where I think the owner just gets a little too involved with the team because in the Frank Wright presser they're talking about the play of Bryce Young and Frank Reich was alluding to the owner. The owner, wants this guy. He didn't come out and say it, but he's alluding to, Bryce Young was David Tepper's guy. Maybe he wanted C.J. Stroud. Yep. So
probably did. I remember those reports came out with conflicting reports of either C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young, and it almost seemed like for a quick second C.J. Stroud was going to be a Panther, and I wonder how well he'd perform in there versus with Houston. But yeah, no, like you said, it kind of seems like. David Tepper's putting his hands into the mud a little bit too much.
A little bit too much.
I feel like you saw that with not to cut you off, but I saw with the Pagulas, and I see it more so in hockey with Terry Pagula and the Sabres, where he's hyper involved.
Too much, yeah.
Yeah.
He, I remember we're getting a little bit of hockey, but I remember when they hired who'd they hire? I forget what coach they hired, but he was. Probably Phil Housley. I remember when they hired Phil Housley, and I just remember the whole backlash he received from that, and it was I don't know. He is going to be less involved with the Bills, now that I don't know what the exact reason was. It might be something to do with Kim Pagula, not being healthy at the moment, but. Yeah, I just think with owners, especially Jerry Jones, not to come at you, Jerry, but I think you're just a little too involved with the team. I mean, and to come out and say this, CeeDee Lamb tweeted after it and just said simply, "LOL." No emojis, nothing. I agree. He should be upset about seeing that.
We kind of have to go back. Speaking of the Bills and ownership, there was some news that broke a couple hours ago, right before the show, actually. The Bills had to make some changes to their administrative staff. So this is from the Buffalo News that sources confirm that John Roth, the COO of both the Bills and the Sabres, and Catherine D'Angelo, the senior vice president of business administration of the Bills, were both fired this afternoon. So they were both just recently put into their leadership positions. Catherine D'Angelo reported to John Roth. Sources and alleged things that I've now seen from a since deleted tweet, but it might come back to light and come unearthed. So now you can say the Big Act podcast was early on the scene to this.
Yeah.
They were involved in a romantic relationship.
Oh,
and
another
that's
one of
what
those.
that's what put them both aside and ousted them from their positions.
Don't date in the workplace.
No.
Don't date in the workplace.
Don't get
No.
freaky. Don't get freaky inside a PSC because it'll come back to bite you.
They find out. And that happened to Russ Brandon, did it not? Did he not have a...
I don't know if it was an affair, but it was something happened.
Something happened on him.
Where he was just like ousted. To kind of tie that into the output of the game, I feel like the Bills. I think Jim Rome said it a couple weeks back. The Bills just keep finding ways to just be in the negative limelight or shoot themselves in the foot. And sometimes it's their production. Sometimes it's like stuff like this, where it's just like all of these headlines keep coming out and something's happening within the organization. There must be either a weasel or a rat or something in there that keeps feeding into this media.
Yeah.
And I personally think it'll be a detriment to the team. Whether the coaches get plagued with questions in press conferences and it's just on other players' minds, like what's going on at the administrative level, I think this all kind of can play into the output on the field.
Yeah, and a lot of the negative media input is with Stephon Diggs too. I mean, do I think Stephon Diggs wants out of Buffalo? No, I don't. But there are people out there that give that. They see what happens on the sideline. Stephon Diggs slams his tablet. This will happen. But Stephon Diggs is a competitor. He is one of the best at his position. And the way they played, he had that jump ball that got ripped out of his hands and it led it to an interception. Josh Allen said it today that, there was something miscommunication with his route running on one of the plays. So that's why you see that video of him slamming his tablet and Josh is looking at him but I don't think he doesn't want to be there. I think people are just taking it out of context.
Yeah, I think people everybody's always looking for the next headline.
Right.
And I wish a lot of these people honestly could just be in the football locker room. It is not what you think. Everybody doesn't like each other. Not everybody likes each other, I meant.
Yeah.
It's some guys that hate each other.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you have the same goal, nobody cares if you. Obviously, some guys come together and like each other, but everybody, you don't have to love each other. It's like a job. It's a job.
Yeah.
You come together, you work, you do your job, and you go home. You know what I mean? Everybody doesn't have to love each other. It's not always kumbaya. It's like a family. You're gonna have your fights. You're gonna have this and that. But if at the end of the day, if everybody has the same goal, none of that matters. You know what I mean? We're all here for one job, one reason.
Yeah. And yeah, do we think Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs hate each other? No. I mean, Josh gave him that look, but I mean, honestly,
they're boys. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
they're really close. You can see their chemistry, both on and off the field. But like brothers do, they call each other brother. I mean, they fight like brothers fight. That's just a normal thing. So I think it's one of those things that happen. They both move on, get over it, no hold grudges, nothing like that. If there was any conflict, I'm sure it was resolved internally, and they've since moved on.
Yeah, it's just for example, you see Stephon Diggs throw the tablet. Oh, he's angry. But if Tom Brady did it,
right,
it's passion.
Passion.
It's passion.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I was gonna say. Yeah, for some guys, it's their love of the game. For other guys, he's a diva.
He wants to get out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the whole thing, they keep stemming back to the Minnesota situation. I think that was a totally separate situation than what we have in Buffalo.
Oh, totally.
So, yeah, I don't know. Moving on, Bengals bounce back. One of the surprises of the NFL of them only having 1-1 up to this point. They came in and, simply gave it to Arizona. Joe Burrow had his best game. Looked like, I don't know if I want to say this yet, but he looked like Joe Burrow. Not the imposter that we've been seeing. Yeah. So hopefully going forward, for my fantasy football sake, that Joe Burrow is back, because I've been not starting him and I've owned 5 in that league. So really need you, Joe. Broncos fire sale. Broncos are in a rough spot right now. Went out and I don't know if they went out and publicly said it, but sources say that they are willing to shop almost anybody on the defense.
This further fuels
Jerry
my
Jeudy.
narrative. Jerry Jeudy to
Jerry
Carolina.
Jeudy to Carolina.
I said it last week. If you saw our social medias, Mike posted about that clip today.
Yep.
I think it's going to happen.
If
By Halloween, it's going to get real spooky in the NFL. I want to see Jerry Jeudy in that blue and black.
That would be a fire edition. I'm not going to lie.
That would
Yeah,
be a
nice
lot
one.
of fun.
Yeah.
To go with Adam Thielen, that would be because Adam Thielen's having a good season.
Adam Thielen,
So-
DJ Chark. Who else?
I don't know
Who else
I
is
don't know
over
how the
there?
rookie is doing that they drafted in second round.
Jonathan
Yeah.
Mingo. Jonathan Mingo.
He's been here and there.
He's
Just
a
nothing
rookie, so,
crazy.
yeah.
I feel like he's just not getting his look. He's playing I saw this stat earlier, about 58% of his snaps.
Yeah.
He's
Okay.
on the field. So
Yeah.
he's getting involved, actually more so than some of the other rookies that were taken ahead of him, like Jackson Smith and Jiba.
Yeah,
He hasn't been getting a lot of route share because Seattle's been playing so much 12 personnel.
yeah, he's not getting in.
So,
Their tackles are hurt or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We'll talk about this when we get to the fantasy football segment. I think Jonathan Mingo is going to be a great stash because that route participation is very promising to see.
Yeah.
But either he's not getting open, he's not getting separation, or Bryce Young is he's just down on the read chart. I don't know. I have to watch some more Bryce Young tape to see how it is. I mean, is Bryce Young a first read quarterback? Is he going to be throwing to Adam Thielen or DJ Chark like more often than anyone else? But yeah, no, I'm pretty confident with Jonathan Mingo. But
if Jerry Jeudy gets traded to Carolina, gotta get a jersey.
yeah, okay.
I don't know. I'm just messing around.
I mean, hey,
Messing
a
around.
Jeudy Panthers jersey might be kind of hard.
It would be.
Just from a look standpoint.
be.
I love the
I
Panthers.
think one
jerseys.
thing that y'all gotta tell the Bills fans to pump the brakes on is the Pat Surtain. Pat Surtain.
Yeah.
He's not going anywhere.
Hey,
He's
not going
listen, I would love to see Pat Surtain in the
Not
blue,
going
the red, white,
nowhere.
and blue, but it's not gonna
You
happen.
gotta give an arm and a leg.
It'd be 2 firsts and a new
Yeah.
deal.
No, he's
And
not
we
going
can't
anywhere.
pay Buffalo can't pay those all those guys on defense.
No, at all.
Lastly, for NFL news and current events around the world.
Not
Dude.
really NFL news.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, Drake is very involved in
Yeah,
NFL
that's
affairs.
That's true. That's true.
You know, he has the Drake curse for the Super Bowl.
Yes. Yep.
I mean, that's a thing.
Yeah.
Drake came out with this album for All The Dawgs.
Oof.
Did you guys get to listen to the album yet, or?
I thought it was pretty good. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie.
I mean, I expect a little better from Drake. I'm not gonna lie, but I know the audience he was trying to get get to the younger generation.
I was gonna say he's got Yeet on the album.
Yeah. So that said a lot. That
Good
said a lot.
indicator.
Yeah.
That speaks
Sexy
to it.
Red, you know.
Right.
I like Sexy Red though.
Yeah.
Sexy Red fan.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But yeah, no, I agree with Terrell. I did expect a little bit more, just for like his standard.
Yep. Mhm.
But I mean, honestly, I still, I'm a big Drake fan. Anything that he puts out, I will enjoy. It's just it doesn't hit as much as
Yeah.
he used to.
Yeah.
I kind of have this period after a new album comes out, like with Kanye or with Drake, some of the bigger names in hip hop. I have to give it a few weeks and kind of just like soft release it into my playlist, because if you listen to an album over and over again, you'll burn yourself out of it. So I like to, if I find a couple songs that I like here and there, I'll throw it into a playlist, and then at a later day I'll go back and re-listen to the album.
Yeah.
So my grade for it is still left to be determined, but from a couple of what I assume to be some of the singles or some of the videos that are going to come out of it, those are pretty good. I mean, First Person Shooters already in my October
Got
workout
J. Cole
playlist.
on the album, man.
Yeah.
On the feature.
Yeah.
We've only seen this for the third time ever. Drake and J. Cole on a song, and each song they've put out, I mean, have been great.
Drake shouted out the Walden Galleria, so that was
Yeah,
pretty
that was
cool.
I don't know. That's
Definitely
the second
different.
time he shouted out
Yeah,
the Buffalo area.
Can't have everything in More Life. He talked about Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Yeah, I can't even go to it, but I'm about to do my Drake impression. You're gonna, but no, yeah, I like it so far, and shout out Buffalo.
I have a grade for it if you guys want to hear it.
Let's hear it.
What you got?
I give it a 7.3 out of 10.
All right, that's fair.
I could agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with
Yeah,
that.
I mean, 7.3 out of 10. I'm not like a, You know, like I'm not the biggest Drake guy, but I love Drake.
Yeah, I mean,
he's like a top 5 artist for me.
Like if you say you hate Drake, you're lying.
Right. You love him at some point.
Like I'm not a big Drake fan. I'm not gonna say I love him, but
Yeah.
like, he's Drake. You know what I mean? So he got some good music. I think the thing was that he hyped it up so much. I was expecting like one of those classics, like a.
He said it was gonna be the old Drake.
You know what I'm saying? Like a Take Care or something like that. It wasn't, but it wasn't that. It wasn't the old Drake. That's what caught me off guard. I'm like, okay. Then I'm like, oh, this is like the new stuff. Still.
It's all right. Yeah,
it's still good, but
yeah. And that was the thing. It's like he's trying to like with the last album he came out with, Honestly Nevermind.
Yeah.
It felt more of like an experiment,
Mm-hmm.
and he's trying to experiment his sound to the newer audiences. He's trying to shape his beats.
Yep.
But I mean, with that, it's probably not going to be a 10 out of 10 album. That's why you're going to get like a 7. You're going to get like a 6 rating. Like, I won't ever. None of Drake's albums, except for the last one, I'll give lower than like a 5. He's so good to the point where like.
I mean, he puts out high quality stuff.
Whatever he drops is going to chart.
Yeah.
Like, Song We Eat, he's like number 1.
It's number 1.
So like
the first person shooter.
He's not doing anything wrong. So
Yeah.
Yeah. So moving on, we're gonna go to our 2-minute drill. We're gonna go to the 2-minute drill. We're gonna put Terrell through the ringer.
Third time on the show, but first time doing the 2-minute drill.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yes, sir.
So, just real quick, for anyone that doesn't know, the 2-minute drill is a series of rapidly asked questions, and our guest has to respond to them in as much or as little detail as he or she chooses. And we are timing it, and they have to complete it within 2 minutes in order to place. So all these questions have to be answered within the 2 minutes to be on our scoreboard right now. We have Kesey in first place at 38 seconds. Casey Guerin up next at 44.65. Jordan Parks. Jordan Parks. Jordan Parks at 109, and our good friend Joe Goodberry at 110. Terrell, how are you feeling? You ready for this?
I'm ready.
You gonna get
Terrell
number
does
1
not
score?
know these questions.
We'll see.
That's the other key differentiator. Terrell has no idea what these questions are. And he won't know until we spit them off. So without further ado, who's ready?
Do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
You got it.
I got it.
So we're gonna start the timer as soon as Mike finishes his first question.
All right, Terrell, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Question number 1: Should the Patriots make a change at quarterback?
I don't think so. I think it's still pretty early in the season, and they're 1-4, and I think the quarterback, if they change quarterbacks, I don't think it really does much for them.
Speaking of Drake, what's your favorite Drake album?
Like I was saying, I'd probably say Take Care. I think Take Care was my favorite. I'm not a big Drake fan, so I'll probably go with that one, though.
Gotcha. Should Bills fans be worried about going forward after the injuries that occurred in London?
No, I don't think they should be worried. You still got some guys that can step up, and at the end of the day, like I was just telling you guys earlier, you still have everybody healthy on offense. You have one of the top quarterbacks in the league, one of the top receivers. You should still be able to put up a lot of points, and the defense should be serviceable.
Should all NFL fields be converted to grass?
Yeah, 100%. I don't think there really is a reason to even have any more turf in NFL. All the money they generate, I think it'll be nothing.
All right. Who should the Panthers trade for at wide receiver, not named Jerry Jeudy?
That's a tough one. I'm trying to think. What receivers would they be able to get?
A couple guys out there that are going to be free agents soon, like T. Higgins, maybe even like a Gabe Davis.
I would probably go with T. Higgins to kind of pair like Adam Thielen for right now. Mm-hmm. You get that big body, deep threat, and then have Adam Thielen working under the slot. I think that Jeudy one is the best fit, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And should the Broncos trade Pat Surtain?
No, I don't think you trade Pat Surtain. I mean, if you want to rebuild, cool, but he's too good. Like year 3 and he's already all pro. Like
top 3 corner.
You got to keep him.
And that is at 129.
Okay.
29.
You made it on the leaderboard.
You're on the leaderboard. And we kind of, some of the questions were kind of answered a little bit before the show. Like not before the show, but before the 2 minute. I didn't realize that when the questions I wrote down. So, it's kind of like a repeat to everybody.
That Panthers one caught me off guard because I'm like,
not Jerry.
Some of these receivers they're not going nowhere.
I will say, I think out of all of our participants so far, you've given the most advanced answers.
Yeah.
I think you've had the best like the best explanations for your answers.
120.
Like we're saying, some of our previous guests have just had yes or no questions, but you went into detail, and you actually gave an explanation as to why. So
you might even like rise on the leaderboards too. I mean, it's possible. You know, with like
38 seconds.
38 seconds. I mean, we might have to have Kesey back on. We might have to have
give him a rerun.
Give him a rerun because I don't know who's gonna beat 38 seconds.
38 seconds
I'm not gonna
crazy.
lie.
Yeah, that's
So now we have 5. We've had 5 people on, meaning whoever does the 2-minute drill next, either someone is going to get kicked off of that 5, or the person that is going to do the next 2-minute drill won't place.
Won't make it on.
Place. You could stay on here.
Man, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, this probably won't be the last time
No, for sure.
you're on
for
here.
Sure,
like,
for
not,
sure.
like on getting the 2-minute drill treatment.
Yeah. No, for sure.
The TMD treatment.
TMD treatment. I want to talk a little bit. I want to debate with you guys a little bit. I've been thinking about this all week and said it a little bit in the
spicy
review
podcast.
Yeah. Big question here. Should the New England Patriots move on from Bill Belichick? Boom.
Okay. I'll go first. Why not? So I want to pull out some stats first and foremost. I wrote out this whole thing.
Okay.
Knowing that you were going to talk about this. So I wanted to look back since Tom Brady left. Because the argument was always like, who made who? So let's just throw Tom Brady aside and look at Bill Belichick as a coach without Tom Brady. So in 2020, which was the year that Tom Brady went over to Tampa Bay, they had for their defensive points per game, they were in 7th. For offensive points per game, they were 27th. So that sounds about right with a Bill Belichick coach team, defensive-minded head coach, defensive mastermind, considered one of the greatest head coaches and one of the greatest defensive minds of all time. 2021, their defensive points per game ranking was in 2nd. They had the 2nd lowest points scored on them as a defense. For offensive points per game, they were 7th, so they were also scoring 7th most points in the league. They were 15th in yards per game, meaning their defense put them in a really good position that year as well to score a lot of points. So I also wanted to make sure that was noted in that 2nd and 7th place. In 2022, a Bill Belichick coached defense ranked 11th in defensive points per game and 16th in offensive points per game. Now we head into this year. Their defensive points per game ranking is currently 25th through 5th games. They have that means they're the 7th most scored on team in the league through 5 games, and offense through 5 games, they're the worst in points scored in the league. The basic trend you see here is their defense carries the offense, and that's what you expect out of a defensive-minded head coach. Just for shits and giggles, Tom Brady was 32-18 until he retired and won a Super Bowl and went to the playoffs, I think, every single year until he retired with Tampa Bay. But, Bill Belichick being on the hot seat goes beyond just this numbers game. We have to remember what this team is and what their fans are used to. This is a generation of Patriots fans that have been spoiled by winning teams and Super Bowl rings thanks to that coaching QB tandem. They've grown accustomed to Bill's cold and dry press conferences. He was really kind of an asshole in the media. I mean, you look back, he is not nice in these press conferences. They grew accustomed to that, and it was okay because they were winning Super Bowl rings, they were winning championships, they were beating the crap out of the AFC East and the AFC in general. So because he didn't do himself any favors in the press during that time, now that this team looks just outright horrid, no one's going to give him any positive press. He's kind of created those enemies. So when we look at, is Bill Belichick on the hot seat, I think it's beyond just what he's producing on the football field. Boston as a fan base, they are a rabid, passionate fan base. And they're pretty smart, too. And we live in such an era now where it's like instant reaction, instant satisfaction, where these fans have a lot more buying power and say into these football teams. You go on social media and, player has a bad game, Boston fans, and, fans in general, but, in this case, particularly Boston fans, go at their players. They go crazy, and like I said, because it's just something that they're not used to. A whole generation of fans that's used to winning are now losing, and they don't they don't know how to react to it. But looking one more side at it, I think the fact that Bill Belichick is also the acting GM, that plays into it as well. And he's not doing himself any favors as a GM to put out a good product on the field as a coach. He hasn't really went and scored that big ticket player in how long? I mean, the Patriot way was, draft, develop, retain, draft, develop, retain. They weren't making these big power moves, but this year and last year they were in desperate need for a wide receiver one. Yeah. They needed an alpha, and who did they go get? They got Juju Smith-Schuster. They let Jacoby Myers walk and signed Juju Smith-Schuster. Meanwhile, DeAndre Hopkins was in the market. Jerry Jeudy was on the trade market. DJ Moore was traded. T. Higgins is still floating around and available. They had the opportunity to get these top pass catchers, and they opted just to grab another corner in the draft in Christian Gonzalez. Now, he's been playing out of his mind. It's unfortunate to see him hurt, and I hope he has a speedy recovery. But it's not what the Patriots needed in a defensive-minded head coach. They needed to provide help to their offense. This is where you look back at these numbers and be like, why didn't they address the offense when they already have a solid defense? So, in this long, convoluted way, I think what it comes down to this is Bill Belichick has this is going to be his last stand next year. Whether this year is going to be a scratch, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I would put money down on them not making the playoffs this year. Forget about it, scratch, lose all your games. Okay, tank and go up and grab a stud quarterback or a stud pass catcher and let someone else do the GMing. Whether it be someone internally, whether they hire someone, let Bill Belichick be a coach in his age. Let him, do what he does best and not have to worry about anything else. And then we'll see. And if he's still not great, see ya.
Yeah, Terrell. I mean, we don't want to, ask you this question. Like, if you want to answer, you can answer.
Yeah.
If not,
I would just say it's more so. I would look at it from it was easier. So, for example, signing free agents, when you have 12 at quarterback, it's a lot easier to go get players.
Right.
And the Bills kind of see that now. If they have no Josh Allen, not too many people going to want to come to Buffalo.
No.
So when you had 12 there, you probably get these guys on discounts. Now it's it's Mac Jones. There's no 12 there. I want big money, because I don't know if we're going to win the Super Bowl. But I kind of always look at Belichick and I always compare it. I always think the two are similar. Like him and Greg Popovich with the Spurs, they kind of got the same thing. You had the Tim Duncan and those guys. You don't win without each other. Tom Brady with Belichick. Tom Brady was able to go to a team that was already built. The Buccaneers had everything you needed: O-line, great defense, with some stud receivers, and then you get Gronkowski back. Whereas Belichick, you lose Tom Brady, and you got to draft a rookie. I kind of think Mac Jones was in some tricky situations too. Last year when he had Patricia and Judge as his coordinator. Yep. So I think that was kind of funky for him. And then now you have a whole new quarterback, a whole new OC, and O'Brien coming back. I feel like it's a learning curve for him. I don't think they should get rid of Bill just yet. I think they should give it some time. But that's the thing now with people in the NFL now. Everybody wants everything to happen right away. Some of these guys, Epinesa, for example. Some people take time. Some people take time to develop. Everybody's not going to be your C.J. Stroud, come in and light the league up. It's not like that. Some guys, it takes a learning curve. Sometimes things take time. So I think I don't think they should let Bill go just yet. I think they should give it some more time and see what you got there. You know what I mean? Because sometimes the grass isn't always greener.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
That is a good point. Me personally, I'm in kind of the gray area. I think that I definitely think they need to strip him from the GM. I think that needs to be effective very soon. I think that is, it's just he hasn't set the Patriots up for success. If you knew Tom Brady was leaving, and you probably, internally you had to have had an idea he was going to go. So at that point, you got to set yourself up for a rookie quarterback coming in. You got to surround him with talent. You get a prominent receiver or a prominent tight end or Ramondre Stevenson has been a good piece, but the problem is now he is getting phased out of that offense. it's just I don't know. Like the defense again has been great. With the defense has never stopped being great since Tom Brady left. It's always been great with Bill Belichick, and even before he joined the Patriots, back in the day, I mean, was a mastermind for the New York Giants on defense. You know, led them to a Super Bowl title as well. So, again, I don't know. I definitely think that they need to strip him of his GM duties, go out, get an actual GM, go like hire an assistant GM of like a prominent team. Do something like that as a coach. I definitely think that I would play this year out, and I would sit down. If I'm Robert Kraft, I would sit down with them and be like, you know, what are the next steps going forward? Like, how are we going to fix this? Yeah. You know, if there's not like a real, you know, promising plan in place, then there should be like a mutual agreement. You know, he resigns. Something like that. I don't think they're gonna go and fire him like altogether. Like you won't see the headline. I don't think you're gonna see the headline. New England Patriots fire Bill Belichick as a whole. No.
It'll be like how Syracuse and Jim Boeheim mutually
part ways. Yeah. Or you know, like he's been a great defensive mastermind. I think he's one of the greatest defensive head coach or defensive minds. So maybe you wanted to step into a defensive coordinator role. I don't know.
That's wild.
That's wild. That's why. That is crazy. I don't know.
Defensive coordinator. Yeah. That's crazy. But also, what's crazy about it too is Brady's last year in New England was 19, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
If you also look like the Bills, Dolphins, and Jets, nobody would anticipate they were going to be this good either. No. Like Josh didn't have his breakout season until 2020. He was good in 19. But I didn't think people anticipated him being that good.
Not as good.
The Dolphins
as what we
weren't
expected.
really, you know, that they were okay. The Jets were like in the same situation. So all three other teams kind of blew up, and it's like the Patriots kind of stood still. So I think that kind of hurt them a little bit too.
I feel like the Patriots and Bill Belichick and maybe just the organization as a whole hasn't evolved yet to today's NFL, where it's a pass heavy air raid type offensive game now. It's not a grinded out type league. I mean, like where it's almost again where it's like we're in like an instant satisfaction society. Where it's like we're always going for that home run ball. We're going for the flashy jukes. We're going for the home run hit. But we're leaving like with running backs, for example. Like we're stepping out of where the running back is the best player on the team, and it's really your wide receiver or in most cases your quarterback that is the best player on your team. So I feel like Bill Belichick and the organization as a whole hasn't quite grasped that yet. They're getting left behind in the division. I mean, I don't think that they expected to be fighting for last place in the AFC East. I mean, no team expects that.
And they're always in that gray area. They're never that bad to get a top pick, and they're not that good to get.
Reminds me of Joe Bills.
Exactly, they're always in the middle. So it's like you're not going to be able to get that top quarterback or that top receiver. You always would be like 18, 16. And it's like it's tricky because they might make the playoffs, they might miss it. So like you're not going to hit one of these big guys. So it's like it's tough. If they're in a tough situation, it's like. Yeah, it's tricky.
Going off that, I like what you said where the grass isn't always greener. You know, say Bill Belichick and the Patriots part ways. How is that job for a new head coach attractive in any way, shape, or form? Yeah. Who is going to want to go to the Patriots?
Boston's a nice area.
I mean, yeah, sure. Like,
that's all I got.
Sure, exactly. Yeah, Boston's probably beautiful, but this team situation ain't.
No.
I mean, you have a quarterback that's nearing the end of his rookie deal and that hasn't earned his fifth-year option. You have no offensive playmakers around you besides Ramondre Stevenson, and he has a timeshare with Ezekiel Elliott. You have an offensive line that's underwhelming, and you have tight ends that are just kind of nearing the end of their athletic peak as well. So, I don't know. I look at the defensive side, and sure, you have some great young pieces on defense, but this is an offensive league.
Yeah,
you want that stud to build off
like
of.
People say dumb things like on Twitter, like, "Oh, fire McDermott." I'm like, you guys don't realize how hard it is to win in the NFL.
Right.
So when you have somebody that's done it so consistent, like Mike Tomlin, to not ever have a losing season,
it's
like they may
unheard of.
They may have not won a Super Bowl in a little while.
He deserves more.
That's crazy. Like in the NFL, and with some of the teams he's had, They haven't been that talented.
Like last year, somehow turned it around, had a winning record. Mike Tomlin deserves to be in the conversation as one of the greatest coaches of all time.
Yeah, what he does is he's super underrated. He should get a lot more credit than he gets.
Before we move on, I just want to ask you guys this last question. Will Andy Reid surpass Bill Belichick as potentially the greatest coach of all time?
Give me one more Super Bowl, and I'll say yes. Give me one more Super Bowl win, and I will say yes.
Yeah, I just got to see how it plays out. Because what Brady and Belichick did was
special.
I think a lot of people kind of, we're prisoners of the moment.
Take it for granted.
Growing up, especially as a Bills fan, it was never no hope.
Like, you knew, constant.
You see those two Patriots games, you knew those were going to be losses.
Yeah.
You knew that was a loss.
You grow up chalking noses.
Like when Brady came, like that's a loss. Like hopefully we make it competitive. Yeah. We might win the one in the end of the year when they're resting the starters and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was like what they did was truly like, and there was a lot of Brady like taking the pay cuts and stuff. So I just got to see how it plays out because what those two did was crazy.
Yeah. I think if the Patriots don't turn it around, if they say end of the year they go forward. Bill Belichick just goes right into a head coaching role just solely. I think that if they turn it around, then I will still say Bill Belichick. But, again, that window is closing for him, retaining the greatest of all-time head coach mantra. So, Andy Reid, again, I do agree. Another Super Bowl for Kansas City, especially going back-to-back, would be something special. And Andy Reid as a whole, I mean, before he even joined Kansas City, he was a great coach for Philadelphia as well. He had teams where, he had like Donovan McNabb at quarterback. And I'm not saying he's bad at all, but I mean,
hey, put some respect on my Cuse guy.
And that's another thing.
McNabb had his moments.
That's another thing when I say be patient. Like Andy Reid didn't win a Super Bowl with Philly with those good teams.
Mm-hmm.
It took time. Like it was hard, and then he got to Kansas City. And he won. Like Peyton Manning didn't win a Super Bowl right away. Mm-hmm. Like it takes time. You know what I mean? So like to have a guy like Belichick, all those Super Bowls, like, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was definitely special. So yeah, that question is for yet to be foretold.
Yeah.
Just want to see if a way too early prediction,
yeah,
kind of thing. Moving on, let's go to our underdog pick 5. Nico, do you want to get paid?
Yeah, let's get paid. We are proud to be partnering with Underdog Sports, our favorite place to play fantasy games. You got to check out their Pick'ems game. It's so easy to play. Just pick 2 to 5 stats of your favorite players and choose whether they'll go higher or lower. You could 20 times your money by going 5 for 5. Does that sound like fun? Download their app and sign up using our code BIGYAC. That's BIGYAC to get your first deposit of up to $100 matched. We can't wait to see your entries.
Nico, do you have an underdog pick 5 for us?
You take it away first.
Take it away first. All right. Denver and Kansas City. This might be a little bit of a hot take or not. But give me Russell Wilson higher than 218.5 passing yards. I mean, Russell Wilson this season has not been bad. No. He's been better than what we've expected. Mm-hmm. He's definitely improved since last year. I think the Sean Payton offense is helping him. But just as a whole, Denver hasn't been too great. Yeah. So give me Russell Wilson higher in passing yards. And again, I'm hoping Jerry Jeudy has, a big night tomorrow night because it's just this season he's been overshadowed by guys like Marvin Mims, Cortland Sutton, even like some random tight ends like I think Adam Troutman is like still out there like running around. So yeah, give me Russell Wilson yards. Give me another guy from this game. Give me Isaiah Pacheco higher than 74.5. Denver's run defense, I'm pretty sure, is last, especially with that Miami game that they had. So 74.5, I like that a lot. Pacheco has also been running well the last couple weeks. Yeah. So, give me Pacheco going forward and for tomorrow night. Sunday, we have the why am I saying Toronto? London. The next London game, Baltimore at Tennessee. That's Sunday at 9:30. Give me Lamar Jackson higher than 0.5 rush in. Give me higher than 1.5 passing touchdowns. I like Lamar against Tennessee's defense. Tennessee's defense has been like inconsistent. Like 1 week they'll be like shut down, like no fly zone, and then other weeks they're like, oh, here you go, like Here's some touchdowns. Here's some yards. So I think Lamar bounces back, especially last week. Had that rough loss to Pittsburgh. So many drops from the receivers as well. So I think Lamar, bounces back this week. I think he throws 2 touchdowns. Give me Tajay Spears. Give me higher than 26.5 rushing yards. I'm going with the hires this week.
Right.
Tajay Spears each week is getting more and more snaps, more and more reps. He's biting into Derrick Henry's snap count each week. So I think that, especially we saw it last week in London with the Bills and the Jaguars. They run the ball a lot. It's not when you're in London, you don't see the deep ball, the big 75-yard touchdown passes. So I think it's going to be a running back. It's going to be a running game between the two teams, and I think that Tajay Spears. I mean, do I think he outrushes Derrick Henry? No, but 26.5 rushing yards, I think that's eclipsable. Jaguars and Colts. Gardner Minshew. I'm actually going to go lower here. This is my one lower. He is at 216.5 passer yards. This is going to be his first start, I believe, or second start, I think.
No, this will be his first official start because he came in. In 2 games.
Yeah, so 216.5 passing yards. I'm going to go to lower here, even though Josh Allen had over 300 yards passing against Jacksonville's defense. I think they're going to run the ball, stick with the running game that they've been doing. Zach Moss had that big game last week. Jonathan Taylor is getting more and more acclimated. I know he only had like 6 carries last week, but I think he gets more involved with the offense. So do I think Gardner Minshew goes over 216? I'm going to say no. That puts me at 4, so one more. Give me Seattle at Cincinnati. Give me DK Metcalf higher than 63.5 receiving yards. I know he's battling a little bit of a rib injury right now, but Cincinnati's defense has just been a little suspect. They played better against Arizona last week, but again, Arizona's offense is kind of hit or miss. They've been riding the hot hand with Josh Dobbs and like Michael Wilson and guys like that, but they didn't do enough to win, and they kind of fizzled out. Josh Dobbs probably had his worst game starting so far. So I think Seattle and Cincinnati will be a pretty high-scoring game. Not insanely high-scoring. I don't know if they're going to hit it over, but they're going to put up some points. So DK Metcalf higher than 63.5. Let me get that higher. And that's my underdog pick 5.
Alrighty. I have a 5. We do have a special going on in Underdog this week.
I forget the
Patrick
special
Mahomes.
sometimes, man.
It's 0.5 Patrick Mahomes. 0.5 total yards Patrick Mahomes.
I'll probably swap out one of my picks with that. I totally forgot.
I'm going to obviously take the higher here, take your free space, move on. Javonte Williams higher than 36.5 rushing yards.
Really?
He is off the injury report. He is a full go for tomorrow night. I like him to at least get 30. I mean, he could rip a 36-yard run against this defense. So I like Javonte Williams. Give me the higher than 36.5 rushing. Jerick McKinnon higher than 2 receptions. This is, like you said, this is a very susceptible Broncos defense, and they love to get Jerick McKinnon involved and manufacture touches for him. So Jerick McKinnon higher than 2 receptions. I think that's an easy grab for us. Zay Flowers higher than 55.5 receiving yards. He has been the only consistent receiver outside of Mark Andrews for Lamar Jackson. Mm-hmm. Odell Beckham has been battling injuries. Rashad Bateman is not playing up to expectations. Mm-hmm. And Nelson Aguilar is somehow still involved. So I think Zay Flowers is going to get a lot of looks here against Tennessee. I feel like Tennessee might commit to stopping the run. They might go all out commit into stopping the run and force Lamar Jackson to pass on them. So give me Zay Flowers higher than 55.5 receiving yards. And lastly, Kirk Cousins higher than 1.5 passing touchdowns against the Chicago defense. Chicago lit up Washington last week, but I think Minnesota is a better team than the Commanders.
Without
Jay Jettas, I'm still taking it. Jordan Addison has shown flashes. I'm really loving what I'm seeing out of him so far. I think he's still going to have a higher.
Yeah, T.J. Hawkinson a good target too.
Yep.
KJ Osborne can ball too.
Yep.
Yeah, he's also there.
Yeah.
Do those sound good to you?
Yeah, those sound good to me. Most definitely.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to Take It to the Bank. Nico, do you have a parlay of the week for Thursday night?
I do have my Thursday night parlay of the week. I just have to go grab it from my phone real quick. It's a pretty easy parlay this week. We've missed 2 weeks in a row now. It's been a couple weeks since we've had one of these parlays hit, so I got to dial it back, get back to the basics a little bit.
Back to the basics.
This is a 4-leg parlay at plus 338 odds. Make sure you opt into the no sweat bet on FanDuel to get at least $5 back from your bet. Nice and easy. Kansas City can't spread. They cannot cover the spread. So I'm just going to go ahead and take Kansas City money line as the first leg of the parlay. I mean, it's at ridiculous odds right now. I think it's minus 620. They're 10.5 point favorites, but I do not like that 10.5 spread at all. So give me Kansas City money line. Give me Isaiah Pacheco anytime touchdown score. You alluded to it. The Broncos' run defense is bad. So I think this will be a game for Isaiah Pacheco. Patrick Mahomes' line here is at 2.5 passing. It's sitting at 2.5 passing touchdowns. That's a little bit too rich for me. I think ultimately he'll have 2 passing touchdowns. So I went ahead with the alternate grab here and did Patrick Mahomes 2+ passing touchdowns. If you want to feel frisky, take the under 2.5 passing touchdowns. I think that those odds are a little bit higher. So if you want to spruce up this parlay a little bit, I would alternate with that one. And finally, Rashee Rice over 2.5 total receptions. I think that they need to get Rashee Rice involved a little bit more. He's been their best wide receiver on this roster so far. Kadarius Toney isn't playing up to expectation. I mean, Travis Kelce is Travis Kelce, but he is nursing an ankle injury. So I would probably expect to see Rashee Rice lean down a little bit more. Between him and Sky Moore, I think we'll see a lot of play with both of them. But yeah, that's my parlay of the week. Hopefully we can finally hit one. It's been a couple weeks, and on top of that, we went 1 for 5 last week in our props too. A lot of averages. I mean, we won a perfect 3 for 3 the week before, so that was great. Everyone is now breaking even at this point. So let's start Thursday night with a little bit of extra change in our pocket.
A little cash. So yeah, as per usual, not a lot of the lines, player lines are available.
Terrell, with you being an active free agent, feel free to comment. Feel free to step in or out. By all means.
Oh no,
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, no player props outside of Thursday night's game as of right now. So if I had to say like an upset to take here, if you want to get frisky, an upset money line, give me Chargers money line against the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to take the under as well. The over is set at 50.5.
All right.
If you want to take two lines from that game, those are 2 that I'm considering.
Chargers money line with the under.
Chargers, they're coming off a bye, so they're more fresh. Dallas coming off a humiliating loss to San Francisco. I think Dallas is going to ride a little bit of a cold streak.
It's getting frisky.
Going forward. Plus, Chargers are at home as well. Dallas doesn't have the backings of their fellow Texas fan club.
You take Chargers money line and under 50.5. That puts you at a plus 258 parlay. Fun fact.
Yeah. So I'll honestly take both of those. I mean, with the Chargers, if Austin Eckler plays, which he might play, that might take into effect. But 50.5 for these 2 teams who they look like on paper teams are going to explode for a lot of yardage and points, but in reality, Dallas has not been putting up that many points as a whole. So 50.5 is just a little too large for me. And then one more as well. I would take Cincinnati and Seattle. I'm also going to take the under here as well.
Do you have an upset of the week?
The Chargers are technically my upset of the week.
Fair.
Yeah, because their Chargers are technically underdogs, so they're 2.5 point underdogs. So that's technically the upset of the week. If I had to give like a real doozy,
I wouldn't be surprised the Jets beat the Eagles.
Really?
Ooh, okay.
I wouldn't, because Zach Wilson hasn't been playing bad.
Right.
I think he's been playing pretty good. That defense, you know what you're gonna get from that defense, and if they could run the ball. I guess that
Brees looked great last week.
I guess that Philly defense, if they could run the ball and just contain Jalen Hurts, I mean.
Yeah.
Jets plus 7 doesn't look too bad. If you wanted to go outright, that's plus 265 odds. That's one of the higher odds in the week. But You know what? I can see where you're coming from because they took the Chiefs to the brink.
The Jets are one of those teams where it's like you can't sleep on them. No, because they're a lot better than what people think.
If you get a good quarterback play out of Zach Wilson, then
and I think they just need to run the ball more, like they did against the Broncos. You run the ball. I think the few weeks before that they weren't running the ball enough.
They took Breece Hall off a snap count.
Exactly.
Plus Dalvin Cook. I don't know what's going on with Dalvin Cook. He is just not looking too hot. So.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on, but if they get that run game going, they may have something there.
Right. And then if you ever get another upset, consideration Chicago and Minnesota. Minnesota is traveling to Chicago. Might be a little chilly for Minnesota.
Some home underdogs.
Yeah.
Did you say it might be too chilly?
I know.
Minnesota?
I take that back. I forget where Minnesota is.
But they're an indoor team.
They're an indoor team.
That's true. Yeah. That's a good point.
That's a good point. Chicago's 2.5-point underdogs as well. Justin Fields has been balling last couple of weeks, so we'll see if he can keep it up. Minnesota, not to go against your Kirk Cousins, pick for the pick'ems, but maybe their offense looks a little more stale without Justin Jefferson in there.
Yeah.
It's possible. It's possible. Chicago doesn't have that bad of a defense. They got some names. They got like Jaquan Brisker, Jermaine Edmonds. So we'll definitely see. We're sitting at 8:48. Let's move on quickly to our last segment. Fantasy football segment. Nico, do you have any starts or sits?
I got 2 starts and 2 sits, and I also really quick have a few free agency pickups.
Oh, okay.
Check your league. Check your waiver wires right now. I want you to look out for these 3 guys. Starting with wide receiver Curtis Samuel, available in 54% of sleeper leagues. He took a jump this week because he posted his second consecutive 18-plus point game. Meaning, he's produced as a top 20 wide receiver in the last 2 weeks. And I don't know about you guys, but he might be looking to supplant Jahan Dotson as wide receiver 2 over in Washington. He is wide receiver 31 on the year, which is squarely in wide receiver 3 flex territory.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like him as a pickup this week. I think he'll produce moving forward. Going into their game this week, they have... Who do they have? They have the Falcons. So it might be a tougher pass defense that they're facing, but this is definitely a great stash to have moving forward. My other free agency pickup, we've been saying it for weeks now, Josh Downs. If you don't have him, or if someone doesn't have him, make room on your bench for him. Or if someone drops him because they're scared of the output with Gardner Minshew at the helm, don't be. Right now he's available in 60% of sleeper leagues. He's becoming the second favorite receiving option in Indy outside of Michael Pittman. And like I said, he's not going to see a production drop off between Anthony Richardson to Gardner Minshew. We've already seen this combination work in the last few weeks. So grab Josh Downs. And lastly, take a look and grab Keontae Ingram if you're in a deeper league. So he was just listed as the starter in Arizona with James Conner out. He's currently available in 92% of leagues as opposed to Amari DiMercato, who had an increase of 2% owned to 40% in this last waiver wire round. So he's a great bench stash because we really don't know what's going to happen yet in this Arizona backfield. Keontae Ingram might surprise some folks, and they were really high on him going into the season. So grab him just in case, especially if you're in a deeper league and you have the bench space for him. Going on to my starts, I have 2 starts. One is a no-brainer. Raheem Mostert, fire away against the Panthers. No Devon A. Chain to go steal some touches. Jeff Wilson's back. He should be playing this week, but I don't know if they'll rush him back in right away. So Raheem Mostert's a full go. I mean, I could potentially see RB1 output for him. I would play him in a flex spot, but if you're on bye week and you have a couple guys that aren't playing right now, go ahead and fire him away. And then James Cook versus the Giants. I think this is a good bounce-back game for him. The Giants' defense is bad. It's just plain and simple. They're a bad defense. And they're susceptible. I think they've given up the 7th most points to running backs in the league. So I really think that James Cook will have his chance to shine. And it seems like in those blowout games the Bills had, he's always ripped one big run off. So I would grab him because this game is probably going to get out of hand for the Giants pretty quick, and it's going to become the James Cook show in the second half.
Yep.
My two sits, I have Brian Robinson versus the Falcons. He's been getting a lot of the share in the backfield, but this is a really good defense that they're facing in the Falcons. I'm not too confident starting him this week, and I don't think he'll run in for a touchdown this week at all. So put him on your bench for now. If you have one of these guys, like I said, like Josh Downs or Curtis Samuel, I would play them. I think there's going to be more wide receiver production than running back production in this Falcons game. So I would play them in your flex over Brian Robinson. And lastly, Jerome Ford versus the 49ers. 49ers are looking like a juggernaut. And Jerome Ford, I feel like this game is going to get pretty out of hand quick for Cleveland if they don't pass the ball and if they don't have a good aerial game. So I feel like Jerome Ford and the whole running back room will be kind of an afterthought against the 49ers. So if you can, avoid starting him this week.
All right. So I got a couple starts, couple sits, and I have one sleeper.
All
So
right.
I'm gonna do 2 starts, 2 sits, and 1 sleeper. For my starts, I'm gonna give you a quarterback. And I was very adamant about him on my tier list last week. Give me Baker Mayfield at the Lions,
All
versus
right.
the Lions. Baker Mayfield before the bye week has been great. Top 15 quarterback in fantasy. Again, if he has Mike Evans, if he plays, it's gonna be great. Chris Godwin as well. I think he has a big game because Detroit is not that good in the slot. So I think Baker Mayfield will have another great game. Continue the surprising season that we've seen so far from
And
him.
Mike Evans should be coming back.
Yeah, Mike
Yeah.
Evans should be coming back hopefully.
He had that bye week, so
Yeah. This is another start that might surprise some people. I know if you guys have been benching Ramondre Stevenson, I think this is the week where you should put him back in. They are playing the Las Vegas Raiders. Las Vegas Raiders have one of the worst run defense in the NFL. Last season against them, he had a 172-yard game and the touchdown the game where they had that backwards lateral and it was taken back for a touchdown by Chandler Jones. So if Ramondre Stevenson has been sitting on your bench the last couple weeks, I say put him back in, see what he can do. Running back is kind of thin anyways at the moment in all leagues unless you're in like an 8-man. So give Ramondre Stevenson a look for sits. Give me Terry McLaurin at Atlanta. Terry McLaurin is going up against A.J. Terrell. A.J. Terrell is one of the best young cornerbacks in the league. And plus, against weaker defenses, Terry McLaurin has just not popped off. I know like the 1 week he had a good amount of points, but he recovered a fumble from I think a Brian Robinson fumble in the end zone that accounted for a touchdown. So just not the greatest of matchups for Terry McLaurin. I think Sam Howell has been favoriting Logan Thomas a lot as well. So
He's a good tight end pickup or streamer.
yeah,
honestly.
for sure.
yeah.
Terry McLaurin, I would stay away from him. And then I think we beat this drum every week. He comes up on our sits most of the time. I think you know who it probably is. Najee Harris.
Man, Najee Harris can't catch a break on this show.
Yeah, he can't catch a break. And I just every week it's Najee Harris is getting outperformed by Jalen Warren. I mean, needless to say,
I think it's gone to a 55-45 in favor of Jalen Warren.
yeah, it's just like you'll have like Najee Harris 1 carry, 2 carry, 1 yard carry, 2 yard carry, and then like Jalen Warren will come in and have like a 15-yard run, hurdle a guy.
Yeah.
Like it's just not
That's literally what happened.
Yeah, it's just not. It's not promising. I don't know. I think you just bench him for now. I mean, if you want, I'd even like go into great lengths and saying like I'd rather start one of the Arizona running backs this week. I mean, they don't have the most favorable matchup against the Rams, but again, Najee Harris is barely scrummaging 10 points.
Yep.
So. And then one sleeper. I have Josh Palmer versus the Dallas Cowboys.
You're loving this game.
I like Chargers, man. I don't know if I'm anti-Dallas right now. But Josh Palmer. Again, they don't have Mike Williams. I'm wearing a Chargers jersey, by the way. I don't know if
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you
I don't know
are.
if we've
Was that
caught
done on
on.
purpose?
Maybe. But yeah, Josh Palmer, people are speculating he's going to be wide receiver 3 behind Quentin Johnston. I don't think Johnston is there just yet. I think Palmer will finish in second in routes for the Los Angeles Chargers. And against a Dallas secondary that have lost Trayvon Diggs, definitely a little bit weaker than what we thought they were. So I think Josh Palmer can get you a little bit more of an over projection. I don't know what he's projected right now. It's probably in like the 7 to 8 point range, but I think he can finish anywhere from that 10 to 15 range. I think he scores a touchdown. Yeah. Terrell, do you have any fantasy?
I was going to ask out, I got him stashed away on my bench. When is Jameson Williams going to have a game? I know last week was the first week. I put him in because I'm like, oh, they got no St. Brown. I'm like, he might be good for 160 yarder or something.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So like I want to know when they're going to start using him.
So
I'm going to say 2 weeks.
I would say don't lose hope yet on Jameson Williams. Don't lose hope on J-Mo just yet. He's just coming off an injury, and I don't think he expected to be playing yet.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Coming off of that
And
suspension
Yep.
and the injury. So I think they're going to take it slow with him. I mean, him and Jahmyr Gibbs are both going to be their young cornerstones for years to come.
Yeah, definitely.
So they're going to take their time with him. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, or if anyone has it right away, his route participation was up there. I mean, he was just out there running routes.
He was getting his cardio.
So exactly, but it's promising to see that he was out on the field.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't give up hope just yet. I would give it 2 weeks. I would, next week it might still be a little bit of a ramp up, but the week after, if you still don't see anything, I think it'd be safe to drop him.
I think what's his name is a good start this week too. Gabe Davis.
Yeah,
I think Gabe Davis is a good one.
Big
He's
game,
been
Gabe.
on a touchdown streak.
Yeah,
Pretty
he
sure.
scored
has,
every game.
I think in the last 3 he had.
Yeah,
He
did
did
score
score
against the Jets.
first game was only
Yeah, but he scored the last 3. So
I like Gabe Davis. It seems like every time the Bills don't play in the 1 o'clock window, he scores.
Yeah. when everybody's watching, you're gonna get you one.
Yeah. So that's all we have for fantasy football. That's all we have for the show, honestly. Just want to say something real quick. To the guy who commented on the YouTube video calling me bald, I hope there's a special place for you somewhere. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not going bald. Like I don't like my hair must have been parted a certain way or something. I have a forehead. This is a forehead.
He said take your partner's lead and wear a hat.
Like-
I said, don't put me into this, man.
Then he
I need a haircut. That's why I wear a hat.
And then he comes at my barber too. My barber, is Taj. Taj just came on the show. Good friend of ours. Like, god damn, man. It must have been. It was on like we're talking about like Miami.
He must have got
too.
his lineup all sorts of messed up.
I want to see what
Yeah,
this
he had
dude
to
looks like.
project.
I want to
jealous.
see what this dude
And
looks
of course,
like.
it was behind a profile picture that you couldn't see what
Right.
he looked
Yeah.
like. I think it was
Yeah.
just YouTube, like they just have like a letter.
Yeah.
Like it was just a letter.
It was like an A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Change,
so,
if you're gonna wear a letter, change that letter to an L because that was
an L too.
bad.
So yeah, I don't know. I like my hair sometimes. I don't come on and like look all pretty for everybody. Like I come on and
We talk ball.
we talk football. I'm not here to make a fashion statement or
Nah, definitely.
like I don't know, man. I don't think I'm balding. I mean, not yet. I don't know. We'll see. Whatever.
Nah,
Well,
yeah,
I hope you're watching.
Big
this,
Tone's still
dude.
got a full head of hair, so kind of.
Kinda. I don't know what's going on with his hair, but he's always had not the greatest hair. I definitely inherited my mom's side with the hair, so I'm blessed. But I don't know what's going on with that. Dad, if you're watching, sorry for that stray that you just caught. But yeah, that's all we have. Thank you, Terrell, for coming on.
No problem. I appreciate y'all having me.
Yeah, of course. Good luck going forward as well. With the process. Hopefully, we get some news coming,
Most definitely,
coming soon.
man. Yeah, most
Yeah.
definitely.
But yeah, that's all we have for episode 65 of the Big Yak Podcast. Thank you, Terrell, for coming on. Thank you, Joey. Thank you, Moranto and Merch. Thank you, Matt Johnson of BICBP Radio Network. A lot of big things coming forward. Please follow our TikTok, subscribe to the YouTube. Just follow us on everything. We're trying to get 1,000 followers on TikTok to go live. And we're also trying to get 500 subs on YouTube so we can start getting monetized. Thank you guys to whoever has watched. We'll see you next week for episode 66. Have a good night.